Good morning, or whatever time of day you're watching this. I hope that you are having a good one. I hope you had a great rest, that you woke rejuvenated, ready for a new day, that you're on top of your things today, as I hope those same things for myself. I'm definitely off to a good start, but you know, we take everything by the moment because we know how easily we can get off track when we're taking things for granted, right? So we're not taking things for granted today. We are waking up full of gratitude, full of positive energy, full of excitement for what the day has for us, full of motivation to be resourceful, to be in proper alignment so that we can embrace any opportunities that come our way for our greatest good, and that we are adding to our experience in positive ways. I ask that my angels, guides, ancestors, any energies or entities in other dimensions that are here for my greatest good and in alignment with my highest power, that you bless me, clear my energies, give me grace, give me wisdom, give me a strong intuition and clear discernment, and that you bless this reading and anybody who is listening to this, that they're able to receive from it what is good, what is best for their highest good and their highest power, and that they're able to alchemize it in a way that leaves them feeling empowered and at peace within themselves. Okay. Let's see what we got going on today. I don't have anything in particular to talk about, so we're just gonna let. Okay. So we're starting out with these two. Let's start real basic. Okay. I have the Ace of Pentacles in the upright, again, which I've been getting a lot lately. And I have the Seven of Wands in reverse, which is great. Because I've also been getting the Seven of Wands a lot. Okay, so the Ace of Pentacles, divine abundance, divine, not just abundance, but when it like perfectly suits your needs. There's a word I'm thinking of that just completely escaped me, but there's to trust that the universe will provide exactly what it is that you need, so that you can properly embrace the opportunities at hand. If you have a predetermination as to what it is that you need in order to get to where it is you're trying to go, and all of those things are predetermined by you, you are less likely to be open to receiving what it is that the universe actually has for you. And unless you are truly in your highest power, which you may be, and I'm not judging that you aren't, but it is something that has to be consistent. Unless you are in your absolute highest power, you could very easily miss the greater picture that the universe has for you. And I do believe that it's always within our capacity to step outside of ourselves and to step back and to look at the greater picture in order to see where we truly fit within it. But that is a matter of being in your highest power in order to do that. So to receive divine, it's like fulfillment, assurance. There's a word that just keeps escaping me. Hopefully it comes later. I'm not sure what it is. But a full fulfillment, right? Beyond your concept of those things. You know, in the Ace of Pentacles, in the card, there's this hedge, and then in the distance there's a mountain behind the archways, and it's beautiful in here. It's a garden. There's some lilies. But and there's, you know, there's green grass, and there's a pathway leading to the archways, and the archways are covered in, you know, roses or whatever. So it's beautiful where you're at, and it's important to recognize that and to be appreciative of that. But there's also something so much greater, always right beyond your direct, not even your direct line of view per se, but your direct experience. Divine abundance is being given in order that you may reach that, you know, because even in this card, like, it's, you know, the hand is over the garden. It's not very far back. It's actually right here in your face. So if you can receive the divine abundance of every moment, it will help to clarify that end goal, you know, and you'll be able to appreciate everything where you're at, as much as you're also able to receive that, and then you can move into that, you know. It'll clear your path to be able to get there. I mean, the path leads directly to that, but that's all a matter of perception, which I guess is what goes into the Seven of Wands in the reverse, which is that, like, you know, you don't have to be defensive. You don't have to know. You don't have to fight. It's not about not protecting yourself, but it's about not putting your energy into fear and into a sense of lack and into a sense of victimization, and being able to embrace the skills that you have in order to move forward. You don't have to stay stuck where you're at. You don't have to stay where these people are, you know, trying to get you. You can move away from those things, and you can move into an abundance. You're already in an abundance if you just receive it. If you just receive it, you know. And, like, this is the message that I just keep giving. And I love that the cards keep doing this by, and largely in part, obviously, the cards are being read by me. So it's going to be in this mindset that I've been in. But just to keep pounding down this concept that, like, you are the alchemist. It is within your power to make the most of things. And that comes from you embracing your truest self, and putting your tools to proper use, and kind of always having this eternal sense of balance over the external and the internal, and how you are a conduit for that creative force energy, and opening yourself up not to control, but to be empowered enough to properly step into those highest powers in order to bring them into alignment. That's the very, very cool thing about being a third dimensional being, is that because we, about being a human, you know, we have this access to our highest power, to the fifth. Our highest power is beyond the fifth dimension, way beyond the fifth dimension. But, like, in a basic sense, you know, and in the initial sense, stepping into our highest power, being able to have this tangibility to tap into something beyond the third dimension. But because we are still innately third dimensional, what happens is that if you are in highest alignment with yourself, if you are in your highest alignment, if you are in your highest power, then you are also in alignment with everything that resonates with your highest power. And, you know, your concept of your highest power, every time you tap into it, will raise and raise and raise and raise too, because it's truly the highest power in the universe. But, you know, you have to get to that. And so it's kind of this step process, right? But as you come into alignment with all of these other highest powers and energies and vibrations, because you are a third dimensional conduit, you actually are the tool. You become the tool in which those things can converge and those things can be manifested. So you have to see yourself clearly that way in order to be able to bring those things, to coalesce those things together. You know, and I can't say if it was necessarily these concepts that led me to being able to be so keen to my astral projections. I kind of astral project naturally and have for as long as I can remember, which is since I was very, very young. Kind of always just been innate. It largely came in part from trauma in sleep. I was scared to fall into a full REM cycle because when I was in REM, when I was in my deep sleep state, I was extremely vulnerable. And in that vulnerability, I was being taken advantage of. So I started to kind of subconsciously learn and then actively, consciously learn to keep myself in a less deep sleep state. But obviously the body itself and the brain itself requires that deep sleep. So naturally, I kind of just started lucid dreaming. I just started falling into this lucidity in my sleep, where I was always sleeping in a way where I could get those REM cycles in, but still being aware enough of my surroundings that I could know if somebody was in the room or if somebody was touching me, right? And that over time just developed into this it became very easy for me to be aware that I was dreaming. And as soon as I became aware of I was dreaming, it wasn't as soon. I actually was always aware. My dreams were always very vivid, and I was always very aware of my dreams. But I wasn't always aware that I was dreaming. That didn't start until I was probably about 15, 16, 17 or so, right around those years. And that was largely in part because of the need to be so lucid in my sleep state. And I had gone an extended period of time without getting adequate sleep. So my body kind of just forced an REM cycle into me, you know, as much as possible. But I was fighting it, so I was staying very lucid. And it was around that time that I started to not only become aware that I was dreaming, not only become aware of my dreams, like watching them from the third person, but became aware that I was dreaming, and that because it was my own consciousness, I was in control of those things. And I started to kind of push those boundaries. And then it kind of almost just started feeling like a game where I could just constantly engage that way and continue to do that. So it came more naturally for me, where I was like just talking to a friend, and she was, you know, talking about how, you know, that was something she always wanted to be able to do, was to, sorry, I'm getting text messages. That was something she always wanted to do, was to be able to astral project. But she struggled with it because she said that every time that she realized that she was dreaming, like the second she became subconscious, you know, or like, you know, lucid, essentially in her sleep state, she would just wake up. And it was very hard for her to stay asleep while being conscious. So yeah, I would say that just came naturally for me through the necessity, because I was being assaulted in my sleep. And I realized that, you know, my sleep state was a place of vulnerability, and I wasn't going to leave myself so vulnerable. It's kind of, I mean, in my personal experience, it is like an X-Men movie, because like pretty much all of my power has always come through trauma of some sort, and kind of the necessity to raise my vibration and to step into those highest powers in order to be able to manage and to survive. Survival, you know, the need for survival definitely has been the trigger for most of my enlightenment. And so You know, and I think that there's a natural aspect to that, for the fact that life in of itself, like, in order to even experience life itself, you have to go through the trauma of being born. And then you have to go through the trauma of being a dumb baby that has to learn everything, you know, and you have to go through the trauma of all of these different mistakes and stuff, and lessons in order to become a functioning individual. And, you know, so there is something innate in the need for survival catering to our self-empowerment. You know, when things become too convenient and too comfortable, we get lazy. We just naturally get lazy. It's very hard to keep the individual disciplined when they are over encumbered with, you know, convenience and comfort. So it's one of those things that, like, is a struggle for me, because, like, so much of what has always driven me to teach and to share these things is to help people so that they don't have to go through the things that I'd gone through in order to learn. That maybe there's a better, easier, simpler way of learning that does less damage. But ultimately, I still think that there is an aspect of trauma that is essential. And I do think that that's, like, part of what's happening with our developments in technology. You know, in the psychology world, and in the sciences and stuff, is being able to not only help people process their traumas virtually, to make it easier to heal and to process our traumas, but also to enact traumas virtually in order to help people to learn. In fact, that's a big thing about, like, movies. Your subconscious is constantly, it's like a sponge, and it is constantly receiving from its experience. It's your consciousness that has bias, and it's that bias that allows your consciousness to determine what is real and what isn't, and what is helpful and what it isn't. Your subconscious is always just taking everything in and everything on, and you can tap into that, and you can recall anything, and you can go through all of your experiences again, just in a very innate way. But that's why, you know, being conscious of your subconscious is an essential aspect in being able to gain some sense of enlightenment, because your subconscious will take everything on and convince itself that it's real. So when you're watching, like, a movie that is traumatic, and you are very emotionally invested into it, your subconscious is receiving that as an experience you are experiencing, because you are experiencing it. You're going through it chemically, or you're responding to it emotionally. You're experiencing it visually, and it's for the conscious to determine whether that's real or not. And that's kind of where you have control, is with your consciousness. But at the same time, like, I just watched this video yesterday where a dude, it was a science experiment where a fake hand was placed. So a dude had his hand on the table like this, and then a fake hand was placed here, and his arm was put behind a divider where his real hand was over here, and there's a fake hand in between them. And then his arm was covered so that he couldn't, in his peripherals, see his other arm. He could only see these two hands, the fake hand and his real hand. And the doctor, scientist, whatever he was, I'm pretty sure it was like a psychologist, like a doctor of psychology, or maybe neuroscience, something like that. He used a stick on the fake hand and on the dude's real hand. And at the same time, he touched them all the way up the hand and on every single finger, and he kept touching them the same way, so that the brain is, you know, you're visually looking at the fake hand, but you're feeling your real hand being touched the same way the fake hand is being touched. And when you can't see your real hand, your brain just becomes convinced that that's what it is, that's your real hand. So, like, you know, that's why virtual reality is so profound. Is because it really does submerge you in this other reality. Because when you are closed off to the real reality, and then there's something so personally interactive happening for your consciousness to receive for your subconscious to receive. Your consciousness has a hard time determining what is what back and forth. So when you're like in a virtual reality thing, to be like, you know, like punching in the air and stuff like that, because your body is responding, you know, to what it perceives to be an active experience, even though it's not actually experiencing those things, but it is actively experiencing those things, just not actually. And so that's like also the nature of reality and the nature of the matrix in which we live, and the importance of being conscious and of being in tune with one's own, not just consciousness, but subconscious, and being in one's highest power so that you can determine between the two, to protect yourself from the illusions at play that would lead you to believe that the virtual reality is your real reality. You know, it's something to be experienced, but it's not something to identify yourself by. There was like a point that I was trying to make in that, and I forgot. But yeah, that's I said everything I needed to say in that way. Okay. The Page of Swords with the Four of Pentacles. When you are clinging to what you believe to be the truth, it's mostly just when you're not in your highest power, really. I wouldn't say that either of these cards reflect a person being in their highest power. We have a page and we have this Four of Pentacles where he's like clinging to them, you know, so that nobody else can have access to them, essentially, or so that he can at least ensure that he doesn't lose access to them. If you were in your highest power, you would be able to embrace opportunity with a sense of freedom too, without feeling the need to cling to the material that way. But our natural state isn't to be in our highest power. You know, I pulled these separate from this. Like the Ace of Pentacles in the upright, the Magician in the upright, and the Seven of Wands in reverse is very depictive of being in your highest power. But they're separate from this. When you're not in your highest power, then you are it's so interesting because you're still open to, you're still open. You're actually almost more open to receiving, like, so the Knight of Swords, for instance, like, is, it'd be interesting if the Knight of Swords actually came out, is, like, very reflective of, like, being confident in what you know to be the truth and then moving forward in that direction. The Ace of Swords in reverse. But the Page of Swords is more just like, not a lack of confidence. There's almost like, it's a lack of education. It's a lack of experience. It's an unawareness that you even need a higher power in that way. And so that, you know, they're reflective of each other in that way. Where, like, if you knew that there was a higher abundance for you, that there was something greater than what it is that you're receiving, you wouldn't settle. This is like a perfect card for settling. You know, no, I have to cling to all these things that I have because it's the best that I'm ever going to have. That is not something you could ever truly determine, especially, like, again, if you're not in your highest self and in your highest power, and who truly is ever at all points in time, right? So, like, you know, even when you are, again, like, it's still a constant progression. So, like, even when you are, there's still this consistent evolution. Every single experience you have caters to your individual education. You can be unconscious to the education you're receiving from your experience, but your subconscious is still receiving it, is always receiving. It's a sponge. So, like, your highest power isn't the same this moment as it is this moment. You know, the second that there's something else to be added, the second that you learn anything at all, that is the state and the nature of the singularity, which I talked about in another video. You know, well, I think I might have talked about that in my Matrix series, or my Theory of Everything series, I mean. But the singularity, you know, simultaneously, when you determine what is, you are also equally determining what is not. They cannot be separated from each other. That is the fundamental basis for, you know, concepts like the Tao. It is you know, we call it the singularity, and it was something we were seeking forever. And then we found the Higgs boson, and we were like, okay, now we found the God particle. We found this one particle that makes up all of the unexplained, unmeasured aspects of the universe. And now we can know everything. We just have to measure it out, because now we have the key. And we didn't realize that, like, that key opened every door. We knew that, but we didn't understand what that meant. By opening every door simultaneously, suddenly, you know, we were faced with a much larger problem than what we had determined. And, you know, it's all just because we keep seeking outside of ourselves for the answers that only lie within us, and that only lie within the individual's perspective. And, you know, I talked about it again, and I think it might have been in my Theory of Everything series again, was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Such a perfect depiction, such a perfect movie. It's so perfect. And, like, that movie, we used to put on for my dog whenever we would leave. When my ex and I would go out, we would always put on the Hitchhiker's Guide if we were going to be gone for a long time. If we were going to be gone for a really long time, we'd put on Family Guy, because it would just play forever. But we'd always put on Hitchhiker's Guide for the Galaxy for her. And I remember watching it so many different times, and, like, it resonated so deeply with my subconscious that way, you know. And I kind of have this thing anyways, where I do that. Every time I watch a movie, I incorporate it into my personal experience. But yeah, I mean, and that's what it is. I was in the 8th grade, actually, when I first started this practice of being able to be aware of your subconscious and being able to determine your own bias and being able to separate yourself from those things. I was sitting in science class, and I was just, like, ADHDing myself, you know. I realized that bias was a natural effect of being an individual and having an experience, and it was a means for survival. It was a means for the consciousness to be able to determine what was reality and what wasn't, but that it was kind of just like a filter. As I saw it, was like it was a filter, and that everything was being filtered through that bias. And at the time, I had a trained bias. I had not even just a trained, I had a bias instilled into me because of the religion that I was being raised in, and because I was in these Christian schools and Christian churches. It wasn't even my bias. It was something that I was catering to because I was aware of the theology, and there was all these different reasons that I was buying into that. But I realized that I could remove that bias. I could remove that filter. And then suddenly the information I was receiving directly through myself, not through that bias, not through that predetermination of my own identity. I was actually, especially I think because I was young, I was completely, like, free of the notion of identity being hinged on certain information. And that way, all of the information I was receiving was, like, very free-flowing, and it was something that I could, like, look at from a third-person perspective and pick and choose what it was that I was willing to receive, and even then also be able to engage with and manipulate my own, the way that I was receiving those things, you know. Yeah, and that's just been a skill that I've been developing over time, but all of these things, like all of these different gifts that I have, like they all just came upon me naturally, and they came upon me through like all of my experiences. And like when I'm talking about like me being able to do anything, like anybody being able to do the things that I do, that's really what I'm referring to, is like, you know, you just have to be willing to know yourself and to take from your own experience, because your experience is essential. You are essential. Like, as an individual, everything that you have to offer is valid and important, and nobody else can determine those things for you. And everything that you have gone through, and everything that you've thought and felt, and every person that you've met, and all of these different experiences that you've had, subconsciously and consciously, you know, the way that you received them, all of it, like, is the key to your highest power. So don't be afraid to delve into those things. Don't be afraid to lose your 4 pentacles to, I mean, these are tiny little pentacles, you know, like this true abundance of the universe, like, is far too great to fit into just your concepts of what you can think, and the things that you can hold close to your heart, and the things that you can stand on for a sense of stability. It's so much greater than that. It opens up your reality to be able to not just be thankful where you're at, but to also have a clear view of where it is that you're going, how to get there, and to have a sense of assurance that you're going to get there because you have the whole abundance of the universe behind you. You know, like once you move out, like I said, like the abundance is in the garden. So like once you move out of that, the abundance is behind you. Like it's got your back. Like you move even beyond that. Like that's really the true power of the magician as well. I'm gonna just keep beating this concept until something else comes out. I was thinking last night that I would like to start opening myself up to do readings for others. I'm not exactly sure how I would like to go about that, because I've been extremely timid. Like, I haven't shared any of this stuff on my social media yet. I've been very timid about that. So if you're somebody that happens to be watching this and you're interested in a personal reading, if there's like something, you know, you're struggling with in your life, if there's something that you're unsure of, if there's something you need a reassurance or encouragement with, anything at all, feel free to post a comment. You can post a comment with your email if you'd prefer me to email you, or if you know, prefer me to send you my email or whatever. I can post it, and then I mean, it's fine if my stuff is out there. I'm protected. It really doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, if you want to email me any questions and want to do a reading, I think at least for the first couple, until I already trust that I'm confident with this skill at this point, where like, although I haven't done a personal read for anybody else, I feel like I could do a good job enough that like I shouldn't feel bad about getting payment for it. But I think initially just for the first at least couple that I do, I won't ask for payment. But I would like to eventually start having it be something that I can do kind of on the side just to make some money. And mostly also just because like when you pay for something, you tend to kind of receive it more, you put more energy into it, you know, you're putting more energy into it, so you tend to take it more seriously. It also shows that you're serious, that you're not just trying to waste my time, and it is my time and energy. And these are easy for me to put out, and these are, you know, I put these out to be helpful to others, but it's coming from, you know, just me being in alignment with where I'm at in the universe, and then feeling called to give these messages. A personal message requires a different energy transference, and it does require a different level of work and of, you know, cleansing and preparation, and output, and then because it's not energy directly for myself, or that it's you know, I'm constantly alchemizing everything, but like ultimately it's something that I am putting out from myself that is it is asking more of me. So I don't feel bad asking for payment for that. But I will always be willing to work those things out with people that are serious and truly just need a personal communication that way. Also, as an oracle, I don't need to do a tarot reading if that's not what you want. If you just want an oracle message, I can also do that. I could do it off of anything. If there's like, you know, dreams interpretation or specific relationship issues, family dynamic things, different personal, interpersonal relationship stuff that you have, I can really work with anything. But yeah, so you know, so that's where I'm at. If you want to email me, you can at heymayo@gmail.com. That's HEYMAYO @gmail. Just put something in the subject to let me know that that is what you are looking for, and then try to be as thorough as possible about what it is that you want, and we can see if we can work something out. That is the direction that I'm trying to head. So the last cards that I'm drawing for right now to finish up this reading are the Knight of Pentacles in the upright, the Hanged Man in the reverse, and the Queen of Pentacles in the upright. And because the Pentacle cards are both yellow, I have them on the outside, and I have the Hanged Man, which is silver, in the middle. He's also the only one in the reverse. The Hanged Man in the upright is in the reverse, right? And within this reading, that is resonating with me as the natural subconscious. And then it's when you become conscious of the subconscious, then you put yourself in a state of being aware of kind of what it is that you're receiving in order to see things properly. In the upright, I mean, in the reverse, it's being able to take those things and then, move them. So it is, I mean, I guess this part is a little bit more personal, but it's kind of like embracing that power, embracing that I've done the work to be able to recognize these things, to know enough that I can receive. I mean, the Knight of Pentacles is facing the Hanged Man, and the Queen of Pentacles is also facing. They're both facing the card. And so there is abundance to receive, for sure. And, you know, like I said, maybe my first reading I won't charge for, but it is something that I'm going to be moving into. So I'll take that as my own personal message, and I guess the message that I can give off of that for you is to, when you can trust that you have kind of looked at things from every perspective, to find that assurance. And when you've done that work, and when you've been patient and kind of put yourself in those places of being able to receive things from every which way, and then you know, like in the Hanged Man card, like he has enlightenment. Once you reach that, then you don't have to be afraid or ashamed. You know, he's a knight, so you don't have to be afraid. She's a queen, you don't have to be ashamed to monetize that, to receive abundance for that, because our time and our energy is valuable. It's actually all that we have. So like, I'm the first person. I've worked almost 50 jobs in the last 20 years. I've been working for 20 years now. And I don't stay at a job that feels like it's robbing me of my soul. And I will stay at a job even if it's not like something that necessarily fits like my ideal, or that if it's something that I know I'm not going to be doing forever and stuff, I'll stay at a job if it is fulfilling my soul for a time. If I'm learning a certain skill, or if it seems like I'm supposed to be there, that I'm doing good there for whatever it is. If there's a job that I'm not great at, or if there's a job that is asking too much of me energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically, I simply won't stay. It's hard to leave a lot of jobs. As a caregiver, I've worked at different facilities where I was the best caregiver there. Everybody that worked with me would say so. Well, the first job that I worked, there were 2 other people that I considered equals, and one that I particularly considered like the best, and I was constantly looking up to them and learning from them. But as far as my like supervisors and management and clients were concerned, they didn't ever want me to leave. They felt like they needed what it was that I had to offer. But what I needed was to ensure that I wasn't just vampirically being robbed of my energy without it being, replenished, and then left without the proper time and space to rejuvenate and replenish myself. Because ultimately that will not just burn you out, it will absolutely deplete you. And then that becomes destruction, right? And I'm not going to let something destroy me if I don't have to. And I don't have to. I don't have to. Life is the only thing that's going to end up taking me at some point, right? Even that, like, it's like, that's just the state of life. It's not, I won't be destroyed. I will be transformed and transitioned into everything else. So yeah, I'm not going to let anything kill me. And I do encourage that for others too. I don't personally care how much the job pays, or what kind of status it's offering, or how famous I get because of it, or, who's working there and how they make me feel, or how they might think if I leave, whether it be a job, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a place that I'm living, whether it be, anything at all. If it is not resonating with my highest power, I can only do it for a time. And if it's actively in defiance of my highest power, in opposition to my highest power, it's not for me. And I need to get as far away from that as possible. And it's important for people to know themselves and to give themselves that validation, that if you've done the work and it is sufficient for you, that's sufficient. And you deserve to get what you've worked for. And you shouldn't, like I said, feel ashamed or feel afraid to receive that. You should be able to, like, it's so funny because the Hanged Man in the reverse is like standing, although in such an interesting fashion, but he's standing with a, sunbeam aura around his head, like with a sense of confidence that, I did the thing. I've already done the thing. I'm not only enlightened, now I have the capacity to be able to manifest my reality through that enlightenment. And that is something extremely powerful, and that is the nature of divine abundance. So, yep. I'm glad that, man, ever since I calibrated these cards, these readings have gone a lot more smooth. So I'm going to have to remember that for next time. Maybe I should just make a point of it every so often, because I'm liking it. But it's also nice for them to kind of pick up some energy and move with that, so that everything is a little bit, like, progressive. Everything that I do is intentional. Intentional living is, like, everything. I learned from living with my ex for 6 years, who was very OCD, but, like, the intentions of, like, feng shui, of having things placed a certain way, of putting things back where you found them, the way that you found them, of putting things, having a place for everything, and presenting everything in a way that is reflective of who you really are. My room's a mess right now, but no, it isn't. Everything is actually quite organized, but, like, I don't have a place for everything just yet. So, like, that to me in of itself, like that is now my definition of mess, where I used to live in absolute squalor. I used to have a filthy room, filthy floors, filthy walls, filthy bed, dirty clothes everywhere, like half-eaten bowls of food everywhere, you know, half-drank cans of soda and energy drinks and bottles of, you know, Gatorade or whatever, and, you know, like cigarette ashes everywhere, you know, the like burnt shake from the rest of my pipes just shaking out everywhere. Just fucking gross. Just makeup everywhere, like just gross, and dog hair and everything. Just I used to live in squalor, and I hated myself. It was reflective of both. It was because I hated myself that I wasn't taking care of things, and because I wasn't taking care of things, I hated myself. It was a karmic cycle. I am so like, I love walking into my room and being like, oh, it's messy, when like my bed is made very nicely, everything is technically organized, but like there's just a few things that have to like be placed a certain way, and it's like, it's so nice that that's my concept now of disorder, because it used to be utter chaos, you know, and that's reflective of the disciplines, and that's a validation as to how far I've come and why I can stand in confidence that like there is a value to the things that I have to offer. And I hope that for everyone, that they can get to that place. It's not going to look the same for everybody. That's the importance of knowing yourself. Know yourself, know yourself, know yourself. That's like the whole thing. I respect somebody that knows themselves, even if we're in complete disagreements and complete disalignment with each other. Because ultimately we're not, you know, on the grandest scheme of things, like everything is connected. And if you're in your highest power and I'm in my highest power, then we are resonating, even if it's not together, you know, like side by side or reflective of one another. I can still trust those things, where if you don't know yourself, I can't trust you, you can't trust you, you don't even know you. So, you know, that's what I got. That's what I got. I hope this was helpful. And like I said, yeah, if you wanna shoot me an email, if you want a personal reading or oracle of anything, any sort of message that you're looking for, I will help you out. Send an email to heymayo@gmail.com. Heymayo@gmail. All right, and have a good day, and I'll see you soon.